Imagine being stranded in the vast, unforgiving ocean, no land in sight, no rescue. Imagine being stranded in the vast, unforgiving ocean, no land in sight, no rescue. Just you, the endless horizon, and the terrifying unknown beneath the waves. Now, imagine surviving this nightmare not just for a day, not for a week, but for an astonishing 438 days. This is the incredible true story of a man who defied all odds, fought the elements, and lived to tell the tale. His name is Jose Salvador Alvarenga, a fisherman from El Salvador, whose unbelievable survival story would become one of the most extraordinary tales of human endurance in modern history. In this video, we'll dive deep into his harrowing journey, a journey filled with despair, hope, and the relentless will to live. It was November 17, 2012, when Jose Alvarenga set out from the small fishing village of Costa Azul, Mexico. He was an experienced fisherman, familiar with the waters of the Pacific Ocean. His plan was simple, a 2-day fishing trip with a young companion, Ezequiel Cordoba. The duo was looking forward to a successful catch, as the waters were known to be teeming with fish. Little did they know that this routine trip would soon turn into a battle for survival. The calm ocean was about to unleash its fury. Out of nowhere, a powerful storm rolled in, catching the fishermen off guard. The waves grew higher, the wind howled, and the rain poured down in sheets. Alvarenga and Cordoba found themselves in the midst of a ferocious storm, fighting to keep their boat afloat. As the storm raged on, their boat's engine failed, leaving them at the mercy of the relentless ocean. They were blown off course, far from the safety of the shore. With no way to navigate and no means of communication, the men were lost at sea. For days, Alvarenga and Cordoba drifted, hoping and praying for a miracle, but as the days turned into weeks, it became clear that they were completely alone. Their food and water supplies ran out quickly, and they were forced to rely on their instincts to survive. They caught fish, turtles, and even birds, eating them raw to stay alive. Rainwater became their only source of hydration. But the harsh sun, salt water, and isolation began to take a toll on their bodies and minds. As the weeks dragged on, Cordoba's health began to decline. The lack of proper nutrition, exposure to the elements, and the psychological strain of being lost at sea were too much for him to bear. After several weeks adrift, Cordoba fell seriously ill. He became unable to eat or drink, and his condition worsened rapidly. Alvarenga did everything he could to help his friend, but there was little he could do in such dire circumstances. Despite Alvarenga's efforts, Cordoba succumbed to his illness. The young fisherman passed away, leaving Alvarenga completely alone in the vast Pacific Ocean. The loss of his companion was a devastating blow, but Alvarenga knew he had to keep going. He couldn't let despair consume him. With a heavy heart, Alvarenga said his final goodbyes to Cordoba. He wrapped his friend's body in a makeshift shroud and released it into the ocean. It was a heart-wrenching moment, but Alvarenga had no choice but to continue his fight for survival, alone. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. Alvarenga found himself in an endless cycle of survival. He fished, caught rainwater, and endured the brutal elements. The loneliness was overwhelming, but he refused to give up. To keep his sanity, Alvarenga talked to himself, imagined conversations with loved ones, and even prayed. He clung to the hope that one day, he would be rescued. But as time went on, that hope began to fade. The ocean seemed endless, and there was no sign of land. The ocean was both friend and foe. It provided Alvarenga with food, but it also reminded him of how small and vulnerable he was. Sharks circled his boat, birds taunted him from above, and the endless horizon offered no comfort. Yet, Alvarenga persevered. As the months dragged on, Alvarenga's physical and mental state deteriorated. He was weak, malnourished, and barely holding on. The salt water had damaged his skin, and his body was covered in sores. His mind, too, was suffering. The isolation and constant fear of death weighed heavily on him. Alvarenga began to experience hallucinations. He saw land that wasn't there, heard voices that didn't exist, and imagined rescue that never came. The line between reality and fantasy blurred, but he held on to one thing: his will to survive. At night, under the vast canopy of stars, Alvarenga found a strange sense of peace. The ocean, though dangerous and unforgiving, was also beautiful. It was in these quiet moments that he found the strength to keep going, to keep hoping, even when all seemed lost. 438 days after setting out on what was supposed to be a 2-day fishing trip, Alvarenga's ordeal finally came to an end. One day, as he gazed out at the horizon, he saw something he hadn't seen in over a year: land. At first, he thought it was another hallucination, but as the boat drifted closer, the outline of trees and mountains became clear. It was real. With a renewed sense of hope, Alvarenga paddled towards the island. His body was weak, but his spirit was strong. After more than a year lost at sea, he had finally found salvation. He washed ashore on a remote atoll in the Marshall Islands, over 6,000 miles from where his journey began. Exhausted and emaciated, Alvarenga stumbled onto the beach, where he was discovered by local inhabitants. They couldn't believe what they were seeing: a man who had survived the impossible. Alvarenga was nursed back to health by the kind people who found him. His story quickly spread around the world, capturing the imagination of millions. How had he survived for so long? What kept him going when most would have given up? When Alvarenga was finally reunited with his family, it was a moment of pure joy and relief. He had beaten the odds, defied death, and returned home after 438 days lost at sea. His survival was nothing short of a miracle. Alvarenga's story is more than just a tale of survival. It's a testament to the power of the human spirit. In the face of unimaginable odds, he never gave up. He endured physical and mental suffering, the loss of a friend, and the terrifying isolation of the open ocean. Yet, through it all, he remained resilient. His story has inspired countless people around the world, reminding us all of the incredible strength that lies within us. Alvarenga's journey is a powerful reminder that no matter how dire the situation, there is always hope. The ocean, with all its beauty and danger, tested José Salvador Alvarenga in ways few can imagine. But he survived, not just because of his skills or knowledge, but because of his unbreakable will to live. The story of the man who survived 438 days in the deep ocean will continue to inspire generations to come. Thank you for watching. If you found this story as incredible as we did, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more unbelievable tales of human endurance and survival.